Hello and welcome back again to BPS, and just like we promised, we have brought another question which is a theme based question, and the theme is mostly centered around the Indian parliamentary system. So the question here that has been asked is a very good and a very relevant question. So make an assessment of the significance of opposition in Indian parliamentary system. So the question here is asking you to make an assessment of the role and significance of the opposition. Why we need a strong opposition in the parliamentary system, and what are the changes and the challenges of 18th Lok Sabha of the parliamentary proceedings amid strong opposition. So you see the question is very relevant. And before moving on to the answers, I would just like to tell you that if you want to join our group of the answer writing practice, every day we will post one question and you have to write your answer there. And if there is any suggestions on the part of the answer, we are going to write it back to you. So if you want to join the group, do check it out on the description. The link is there in the description. So you see the question here is a very relevant question. It is located or centered around the Indian parliamentary system, and also the question is asking you about a very relevant thing, a very recent thing amid strong opposition. So in the 17th Lok Sabha and the 16th Lok Sabha also, we have seen that it was not a very strong opposition, but the 18th Lok Sabha is quite a strong opposition. So how are things changing? So this is a very relevant question. It is very easy, but at the same time it is very tricky question. So let's see what you can answer. So first you have to give an introduction. So the introduction part, you have to write about the parliamentary opposition. What is parliamentary opposition? Because any day when we try to answer one question, we must give a very precise and very brief introduction about the topic, because the question that will be asked will be centered around basic points. When you write your answer will have the introductory part, the main body and the conclusion. So you see, whenever there is a question, the question will always be centered around the main body, but before answering the main body, you have to give a brief introduction of the topic that is being asked. So that is why in the introduction part we are giving what is parliamentary opposition. So in a very brief language you have to explain the parliamentary opposition in Westminster model, which is the India that follows is a Westminster model, basically just because we have taken it or we have borrowed it from the British Parliament. Now refers to the political parties and members of parliament that are not part of the ruling government. So in a very simple language, the candidate has answered this, that it is not part of the ruling government. Okay, so that number of people or that number of political parties who are not part of the ruling government is called as an opposition. Their primary roles include scrutinizing and challenging the government's policies and actions, ensuring accountability and representing alternative viewpoints. Now, the candidate has given a very precise meaning of what is parliamentary opposition, but it has also highlighted what does the parliamentary opposition does. So its major role is to scrutinize and challenge the government's decisions, because if the government sometimes if the government has the majority, it can bring out certain erroneous policies. So in order to find out what are the errors of a particular policy, how it is going to affect the general public. So in order to balance the power of the ruling government, the strong opposition is quite a necessary part of our parliamentary process. So the second part of the introduction is basically giving you what does the parliamentary opposition do. Now, the leader of the largest opposition party, having not less than 1/3 seats of the total strength of the house, is recognized as the leader of the opposition. So this is in a very parliamentary language, it has been explained that who is called as the leader of opposition. So this is a very technical yet a very parliamentary language. So the leader of the largest opposition party should have not less than 1/10 seats of the total strength of the house, and will be recognized as the leader of the opposition. Okay, because only one political party can come to power. That political party can become the ruling government, but there will be several political parties who might act as the opposition party. So in order to segregate the real opposition, the strongest opposition from the rest of the political parties. So there is a particular technical term or a parliamentary term to explain who is the leader of the opposition. So in this case, you can see not having less than 1/10 of the seats. Okay. Now we'll go to the main body. So main body, so when you move back to the question, you are going to see that a question was asking you specifically about the significance of the opposition. So the first part of the main body, you are going to explain about the significance. Okay. So the main role of the opposition is to respond to, question and scrutinize the government's actions regularly in parliament. So this is a very basic job that they have to do. They have to keep the balance of power. They have to question the government on every policy that they make, because if they don't question, if they are not in a position to question, then the government can actually take the shape of an autocratic power. The government can frame any policy that they want for their own benefit. So it is very important to have a strong opposition to respond, question and scrutinize all the policies initiated by the government. That is a basic principle of a opposition. Now it ensures that a government follows constitutional norms. Okay, so the government has to follow the constitutional norms while enacting a certain policy. It does not, just because it has the majority, does not mean that it is going to hamper the constitutional principle. Okay, it has to keep in mind what the constitution actually says. So who is going to keep that in mind? Because the ruling government generally, if it has the majority, it becomes very easy for them to pass any certain kind of bill in the parliament. So in that power, they somehow, so in the several times what they do is they try to bring out their personal agenda and they try to initiate it in the form of a policy if they have a majority in the parliament. But in order to ensure that the ruling government always follows the constitutional norms, it is the role of the opposition party. Okay, next. In parliament, the opposition not only criticizes but also advocates for the needs of their constituencies. That is, let's say the government is not able to put forward every other viewpoints. The government is not able to accommodate every other's needs in every other constituency. So in this case, what happens? There are certain MPs that can come up with their own, with their own timings. They can come up with their own problems of their constituencies, because the role of the member of the parliament is to bring forward the problems of their constituencies. So that is why if somebody is in the opposition, so let's say if somebody is in the opposition and the party has felt that the ruling government has not initiated enough policies for the advancement of the people in his constituency, then it is his duty to stand up and ask for the benefits of the people of his constituency. So it becomes the major role of the opposition. Okay. Next is, in India during the 17th Lok Sabha, when there was not a strong opposition, the parliamentary decisions were mostly one-sided. For example, the 17th Lok Sabha witnessed a steady decline in the number of bills passed over its 15 sessions, decreasing from a high of 35 bills in the 2019 budget session to only 6 in the 2023 budget session. So see what the person is writing. So here since the question was asked about the significance of the opposition, so the person has quite nicely, he has written that see what can the absence of the opposition can do. Because what is happening in the 17th Lok Sabha, we already had seen that the number of bills that has been passed has drastically reduced from the year 2019 to only 6 in the year 2023 budget. Because if the ruling party has the majority, they can do whatever they want. But let's see, when there is a strong opposition, they cannot do whatever they want, because the power is always been checked. And in the 17th Lok Sabha, since there was not any strong opposition to question or scrutinize the government, so what the government did, the bills passed was considerably very low in comparison to the 2019 2019 budget session. So what does it say? It says that the minimum participation happen. That means in the parliamentary session we want more and more bills to be passed, because when we will have more and more bills to be passed, then we will have a lot more discussion. We will be able to accommodate a lot many problems of this country. But if the number of bills is drastically reduced, that means not many MPs are able to put forward their bills, and not many MPs have been able to not many MPs in the opposition has not been able to put forward with their viewpoints. Okay, so this is what happens when a country does not have a strong opposition, because only one sided of the view, only one sided opinion is being presented in the parliament if there is not a strong opposition. But if the strong opposition exists, then many viewpoints can be entertained. Now, additionally, over a third of the bills passed receive less than an hour of discussion, indicating limited scrutiny. Now see what the student has written, that a third of the bills, that means the student is referring to the 2023 budget session, that the bills that has been introduced, those bills, at least third of the bills passed has received less than an hour. That means if within less than an hour, if one bill is being passed, that means what does it say? It was never scrutinized the level that we expect it from the parliamentarians to do. At least we need to spend hours and hours before a bill is to be passed. But if one third of the bill is being passed, even without deliberating less than 1 hour of time, that itself explains that how good the scrutinizing or how good the deliberations were taking place in the year 2023 budget session. Okay, so it is a very poor performance. And why it is very poor? It is very it was really a very frightening situation, because if at this pace, if the bills could be passed, then the ruling government did have the power to pass any kind of bill that they wanted, because it is undergoing a very less scrutiny, and there is not many time given for the deliberations to happen. Now the role of parliamentary committees also diminished, with only 16% of bills introduced and referred to the committees. So let's say if the bill is been introduced, and before the passing of the bill, it will be given to different parliamentary committees, as you may have already read about the parliamentary committees. Right. So every parliamentary committee's job is to scrutinize the bill. What does the bill contain? Is there any provision which harms the constitutional spirit of our country? So their main job is to look after it, what this policy can bring, what it cannot bring, whether it is of a profitable nature, whether it is in the long run, will it create more problem than the solution. So all these things needs to be scrutinized. The amount of money that will be used to execution of the act and everything. But what happened in the year 2023 budget session? Only 16% of the bill actually went to the parliamentary committees. The rest of them were not even introduced to the parliamentary committees, and one third of the bill actually passed even less than an hour of deliberation. So this was the level of absence of deliberation inside the parliament from the year 2019 to 2024, that is in the 17th Lok Sabha. Okay, so the student is trying to say that in case if there is not a strong opposition, so the ruling government can introduce a lot many bills, or even can reduce the number of bills, and the bills will be very less scrutinized, okay, in the form of a policy making. So that is a very dangerous thing to happen in a democratic country like India. Now the second part of the question which asked you is about, since the strong opposition has emerged in the 18th Lok Sabha, so what changes and what challenges you may face, or the parliamentary system may face in the coming years. Okay, so 18th Lok Sabha saw rise of strong opposition which shall have a stake at all parliamentary decisions. So since the opposition is very strong, except the Chacha ji, he just sided with NDA, but rest of them are all in the opposition party. Now they will have a good stake at all the parliamentary decisions. Now they are in a position to question the government, to scrutinize every other bill which will be introduced by the government. They also have a power to initiate a no confidence motion against a government as well. So this is a strong opposition can do, that is increase the number of deliberations, increase the amount of scrutinizing, and every bill will be passed to a parliamentary committee, after which, after much discussion and deliberation, it will be introduced as an act or as a policy. But the opposition in India has been fragmented and poorly organized. Now this is a main problem, that is a main challenge in a strong opposition that we see right now, that it is quite fragmented, because different political parties have come together to form an alliance which is known as the India Alliance, and which acts as a major opposition party. But majority of the parties which are inside the alliance are very poorly organized, resulting in the absence of a unified agenda. That is, we don't have a unified agenda. Okay, everybody is putting forward their own agenda. Now Kejriwal has a different agenda, Mamata Banerjee has a different agenda, and political parties from the south have their different agenda. So since everybody has come up as an alliance against the BJP government, but since considering the fact that every of them do not have a single agenda, everybody of the political party have their own different political agenda, so that is why it is considered as unorganized and very poorly organized. Now internal rivalries and lack of cohesion. Definitely, if tomorrow the India Alliance forms the government, what is going to happen? More and more internal rivalries are going to happen. One political party will say that we need this, the other political party will say we will need this, or else we are going to lose support, or else we are going to withdraw our support from your party, and those are the kind of things. So when different viewpoints come together to act as a single opposition, there is always a lack of cohesion, because they are not unified for a single matter. Everybody of them have their different political agenda, that is why they lacked cohesion. Okay, now additionally, the diverse ideologies, regional interests and agendas of Indian opposition parties contribute to their fragmentation, making it difficult to present a cohesive narrative and coordinate unified strategies against a government. So they have diverse ideologies, they have their own regional interests. So if you see the opposition party, the India Alliance right now, you will see the majority of the parties that have come for this alliance, all of them are actually a regional party, majority of them. So they have their own regional agenda. And regarding the lack of cohesion, recently you have seen that in the election of the speaker, what happened? Both the opposition and the ruling political party had to conduct an election, which was very rare, because according to the parliamentary history, or you can say the parliamentary traditions, it was always the person from the majority party who used to become a speaker, and someone from the opposition party used to become the deputy speaker. But because in the 16th and the 17th Lok Sabha, the deputy speaker was not given to the person from the opposition party, that is why this year they have contested both, even though the speaker won from the majority party, because they had major number of votes, and many of the MPs from the opposition did not cast a vote. Because even we can see everybody of them gave a statement, but Mamata Banerjee didn't give a statement, because she had her own different agenda on the election of the speaker. So that speaks actually the volume of the lack of cohesion that they have, because Congress is trying to do something else, the Aam Aadmi Party is trying to they are trying to proliferate their own agenda. So they are only unified to scrutinize the present government, but they are not unified to do a lot of other activities. Okay, next we have in the conclusion, in India's parliamentary process, both government and opposition must equally participate. they should strengthen alliance among opposition parties to increase numerical strength and present a unified front. Now, today's opposition is a very strength alliance because the different political parties, everybody have come together to become the opposition, but the problem is they do not have a unified front. Everybody of them have their own different political opinion. Now, empowering parliamentary oversight through active participation in committee debates and legislative scrutiny is crucial for India's democracy. So that is why we need a very strong opposition, but at the same time we need a cohesive opposition. We need a very strong or unified opposition. We do not want people to belong to have different ideologies in the opposition, because later it is going to become it is going to act in a very fragmented manner, right? So when the question was asked about the most significant part of the presence of the presence of the opposition, so the student has very well placed certain data and certain numbers to substantiate his answer, but at the same time when the challenges and the changes were asked, he is also given that how the present opposition party, even though it is a strong opposition, but still does not have a cohesive step. It is still lacking in terms of a unified ideology. Okay, so these are the changes and the challenges that the present opposition party is facing. So I hope you have liked today's session. So I have put this question in our group, so if you want to answer it in your own way, you can go and write it down, and if you want to join the group, you can find the link in the description. So till then, take care and all the best, and wish you very luck.